What is up, everybody? How we doing? How we feeling? Welcome to another episode 16 of the Final Vibe podcast. My name is Kevin Reap, and alongside me is my co-host, Andrew White. Andrew, are you ready for another episode?
I am ready for an episode, but I don't know if I'm ready for this episode.
Yeah, this episode is going to be, I would say epic is a good word to describe it. Before we get started, let me set the scene so everybody listening knows what we're dealing with right now. A week ago, Andrew texted me, and he told me that he secured this week's guest for the podcast, and then he followed it up with, we need 6 microphones. I thought he was joking, but he was serious. The Final Vibe studio is a little too small for that. So right now, we are actually in the kindergarten large gathering room in the basement of the Crossing in Columbia, Missouri, with 6 of us, all of us at our own individual 6-foot table, socially distanced, COVID safe. I like this. And we got a lot to talk about today because as with 4 guests, I'm not even sure how we're going to cover, but we're going to do our best. So with us today is Angie Azzanni and Travis Craig, both co-directors of COR, and Nate Peat and Martez Manuel, both COR alumni and collegiate athletes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here, sir. Good to be
It's so crazy hearing so many voices. I think to start it off, we need to have a couple introductions so that people know who is who when they're listening.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's go clockwise.
Let's go clockwise from me.
Let's go clockwise from
Let's
you.
go clockwise from me. Nate, let's hear your voice. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Nathaniel Peat, but everybody just calls me Nate, and I hail from Columbia, Missouri, but I go to college at Stanford University.
Very cool. Tez?
Name's Martez Manuel. I go by Tez. Just a kid from St. Louis, Missouri. Play football here for the Missouri Tigers. And, yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome. Angie, introduce yourself.
Yep, Angie Azzanni. I am one of the co-directors of COR. Originally from St. Louis, came to Columbia in 1998 for college, and I've been here ever since.
There you go, Travis.
Yep. Travis Craig. I'm the other co-director of COR. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. Came here in 2001 for college, kind of the same as Angie. Stayed after and have been here ever since.
Perfect. Kevin, do you want to say hi? Is there anybody maybe listening for the first time that would like to know who you are?
There's a good chance that maybe somebody is. My name is Kevin Reap. I'm the CEO of Final Vibe, the host of the podcast, and excited to be here as well with all of you.
You're also the guy with the magical voice.
That's right.
Do you know how many people that tell me that they listen because of your voice?
That's very, very sweet.
I'm clearly bringing nothing to the table.
I don't think that's
So,
true.
feels
You
good.
make it sound good. Better.
I do my best. And I'm Andrew White. I run this thing with Kevin, and I'm super excited for this episode. Let's dig into it. Kevin, what is the first topic on our agenda today?
Let's talk football, I think, first. We'll talk to the football players at least, get to know you guys a little more. So, Nate,
Yes.
how are you now with us as a Stanford D1 collegiate athlete? Talk about the journey to get to where you are today.
So everything kind of just started, starting football, like middle school, high school, just playing around. Then after my freshman year, started to get a couple college looks from first hometown Missouri. That was my first offer, then kind of just picked up after that. But it was a grueling process, especially getting into Stanford. I was working with Angie and Travis a lot on my applications. It took me like the whole summer to do it. But it was a grueling process and really nerve-wracking. I went through a lot to get to the place right now. But, yeah, it was a fun process, very fun.
Tell us about yourself.
I would say it just took a lot of setting myself apart from, situations or people that I saw that probably weren't going towards down the best path, you know what I mean? For sure, a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work in the classroom as well to make sure I had the grades to be able to do what I'm doing now. And I would just say just do anything I can to set myself apart from the others so I would stand out so I could be, like, given this honor of playing Division I ball,
Absolutely. And you two know each other before we walked in here today. You have a special relationship. Explain where that started, how long you guys have known each other.
So I met Nate moving from Los Angeles, California. I moved to Columbia, and we met at Smithton Middle School. He didn't really like me. I mean, I don't know.
The truth comes out really early.
All right, so we were in Algebra 1 class, I think. And I'm not going to lie, I was probably a weird kid, I think he said I was talking to myself a little bit.
During the test, it was cool.
During the test, like just counting some numbers. Then we football season came around, and we were on a really good team, and we were some of the big names on that team, including my brother and some other people. And yeah, just from there, I mean, so Smithton Middle School's high school is Hickman High School, but me, my brother, and Nate were the only people from Smithton to go to Rockbridge. You know what I mean? Like our parents moved us so that we could go to Rockbridge, or at least my parents did. I think his parents worked for it, so he could go wherever. But yeah, so from there, I mean, being some of the only kids that we knew from that middle school, we just got together, and then we came across COR, which, I mean, it's hard to not fall, you know what I mean, like into a brotherhood at COR, because you're there. We were with each other more than we were with our families at home at times, you know.
Yeah, especially with that, it was like the schedule every day was go to school, football or track, and then go to COR straight after. So the whole day it was spent with like Martez, Marcus, his brother, and then so every day we're just with each other, and so it kind of just solidified the bond to like us being to where we're at right now.
And I think you teed us up perfectly, because now we all need to know what COR is. So Angie, Travis, tell us what COR is. What's the vision behind COR? What is it? Explain to the people who haven't heard what COR is.
Yeah, so COR is a nonprofit for male student athletes. We started back in 2013. Kind of the quick backstory, as quick as I can make it, because I'm terrible at making this story quick. I had been working for a nonprofit called Granny's House starting in 2003. I started working there and met a student who was 10 years old at the time. He was great kid, but kind of was going down a rough path. And he was an athlete, but not on any formal teams. He was kind of running with a crowd that was a little rougher, and he was not making some good choices. He was moving a lot, so educationally, he had a lot of disruption in his academics. Someone introduced him to football in 7th grade, and he got on a team and had a lot of fun, but it didn't really change too much in his life. Moving on to 8th and 9th grade, he started playing a little bit more formally and liked it and saw that he had some talent. Fast forward a little bit more, he went to Rockbridge and started to see that he had this talent. Coaches started noticing. I was with him a lot more, driving him to and from practice, got to know a bunch of his buddies, started helping with some of his classes, and he got introduced to Travis through YoungLife and started kind of getting these different relationships and started going to church with us and just really started to kind of take his life in a different direction. His junior year came along. He had a dynamic season academically and athletically. Coaches started to recruit him for Division I football, but quickly noticed for NCAA eligibility he was way behind. And so working together with his teachers and his coaches, we started to kind of get a plan together to help him get on that path so that he could get college scholarships and kind of pull himself into a different situation than he was headed down prior to that year. And so long story short, he ended up getting a full ride scholarship to a Division I school, which really changed the whole course of his life. At that same time, Travis was working with another student, which you can kind of explain that.
Yeah, so I'd been coaching since 2002 at Rockbridge High School. I coached wrestling, still coach wrestling to this day. And then in 2013, I started coaching football. But while I was coaching wrestling, I got to know, obviously, a lot of my athletes that I was working with, and one in particular that I was working with never really had transportation home from practice, and so we ended up spending a lot of time together in the car when I would take him home, and I got to know a lot about his life and what he would deal with and what his struggles were and what motivated him, and just through that relationship, kind of saw the potential in him, and I think that he started to see the potential in himself too. And kind of a similar story to what Angie was saying is just when he had the right supports in place, he really thrived and really became a leader on his football team, did really well in wrestling, changed his attitude in school, and his relationships improved with his friends and his family. And we just really kind of at the same time, I think Angie and I saw through two different kids that we were working with, just what could really happen when you have the right supports in place, whether they're really significant needs or smaller needs that everyone has. And so Angie and I got together in 2011 and planned for about 2 years on what it would look like to start something that put those supports in place for more students than just those two that we were working with. So in 2013, we started COR, and kind of our formula is that at root level, we're relational. We want relationships for the students, with the students, and we want to, like Tez kind of touched on, a place where they can form a brotherhood together. So we were relational, athletic. We saw that both of the students that we worked with, athletics were a huge motivator for them to make changes in life, and saw that their potential, and they could have success, and they could have brotherhood on those teams. Academics were a huge way that their lives could change as well, and so we wanted to provide those supports, and then positive experiences. And so, I don't know, at some point, Tez and Nate might talk about their Young Life camp experiences and just experiences on going on service trips to Jamaica and things like that, that not everyone gets to go on, that can really significantly impact the way you view the world. So that's kind of what we started CORE around, and we started in 2013, and these guys came around, I think, in 2015 or 16. So that's kind of how we started off with Nate and Tez.
That was a great intro.
I want to know more about what CORE is on a day-to-day basis. So when you sign up, then what happens? What does it mean to be an alum? What did you guys go through kind of day-to-day with each other and the group?
I'd say just like an everyday routine is just like chilling with the guys at first, just like playing games or just like talking with the core leaders, stuff like that. Then they'd feed us, give us food, Gatorade, all that good stuff. And then after that, we get to like the school work, the tutors, everything that helps us excel in school. So after that, we usually just seclude ourselves, or we get into groups to work on our homework and stuff like that. So
I would say, have either of you ever been to CORE?
So I was going to say, if for someone who's never been there, describe it.
Yeah,
like it's
so-
a place,
okay, so
you spend a
like-
lot of time there, yeah.
It's a house, I would say. Like I would say it's a house,
Yeah.
or it's a combination of two houses.
Cool.
So you walk in, and the room that when he was talking about, you first get there and you're just chilling. There's like a big room, like a living room in a way. I would say it has about at one point it had 3 TVs in it. I think it has 2 now. But then there's like a PlayStation, an Xbox, cable. You know what I mean? And like that's really where like you're just decompressing from school practice. You know what I mean? You're just in there just chilling with the guys. You know, I'm just laughing and stuff. And then you eat dinner, like you said, and then once that's when like the whole flip switches. You know what I mean? Because I think CORE does a really good job of having the combination of like the leisure and also the learning part. You know what I mean? So that's when it switches. And at least from our friend group, I would say like you said, we would usually be in groups, and like at least for my freshman year, I'd be like, dang, like we're all just in the same room, like working on different assignments. You know what I mean? With tutors, and like that's really like when you're all like chasing, you know what I mean, the same goal, the same end goal. I feel like that's what really elevates your relationship and like elevates your class. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to brag or anything, but they tell us all the time that like we're a very special class to come through CORE, because our whole class was just super focused, you know, and like was like what CORE is, you know. So yeah, I would just say that the CORE is like really good but really good setup to where they really balance the emotional side to the task at hand side, you know.
No, that's amazing. I was going to say too, how did you guys get on this mentality though? You know what I mean? Because it sounds, to me, honestly, it sounds too good to be true. You guys are telling me that you are phenomenal athletes and you go to this place after school and you study, and it's like community and it's brotherhood and it's leadership, and it's like, but you guys have to be the ones to make that decision to want that, and so many people don't. So like, where did you get that from?
it was kind of ingrained in us. Since like 8th grade, since freshman year, we're talking about going and playing college football, talking about all these D1 schools we wanted to go to.
Yeah, and also like that's the part that we get back into legacy. You know what I mean? We had guys like Alex Afadile, Trey Williams, you know what I mean? Guys who did these things that we wanted to do coming in as freshmen and stuff, you know what I mean? So we just all like, you know what I mean? They paved the way for us to be able to like, if you want to accomplish this, it's right in front of you, you know what I mean? Do this. And like a lot of kids, I would say, get bored with the routine of staying focused, you know what I mean? But like when you can really commit to it, I feel like is what really helped us, you know what I mean? We didn't really get bored with it. We just always kept in mind what we were chasing, you know?
It's definitely the culture of what CORE is, like seeing the older guys grind through what they've gone through and to get the grades up that they've done. It's definitely motivating for us to see that and then have us learn from it, either change what they did or do the exact same thing in order to success. in order to get success ourselves.
And when you're in there, like when you walk in, there's like when you graduate and you pick your school, there's like you get to put up your lanyard on the wall. So I mean, like I was saying before, like legacy. Like when you walk in, you look at Oregon, Mizzou, NC State. You know what I mean? Like it's just like wow, you know.
Especially something that we look forward to. Like I remember we were talking about like, yeah, we're gonna get this spot. We're gonna put our banner here. So it was definitely just like the culture of like what COR is.
How many years in advance were you looking at that wall of pennants? You know what I mean? Like how old were you when you looked at it and you're like, I'm going to put mine right there?
When I first got there,
yeah,
like
first step
when
foot in the building.
right when you walk in the door, the banner's right there. So you look up and see all the schools. Like, dang, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. I want to hang my pennant up there.
That's super cool.
I want to reiterate what Andrew said about the mindset that you guys have. And it's special to see. And I think that you guys understand that a lot of people have poured into you and given you a lot of great advice and have shown you what steps to take and have been there along the way. Now, as you guys go from that high school to college and start to feel more comfortable about where you are at, how have you looked at giving back yourselves now to the next generation? Is that something that you've thought about or that you actively do now? I know Travis said you went to Jamaica and did a mission trip. So what are some of those things now that you do or that you've done when you think about how you can pour into other people?
I would say, just being college athletes, we're not really in a position yet to financially or or do type of things that we could really help, help in a huge way. But I think like small things, like there's a kid at Rockbridge now. I'm not gonna say his name or anything, but I talk to him all the time. I keep up with him. Angie gives me updates on him, stuff like that, and just letting them know, because like you said, we had a lot of people that were in our corner. You know what I mean? A lot of people that were pushing us in the right direction. So I think just letting them know, like, hey, like, I'm in your corner. You know what I mean? Letting the kid know who might not have the support he needs at home or at school. You know what I mean? Let him know, like, hey, like, I'm here for you. You need anything. You need to talk to somebody. You need guidance. Like, I've probably been through it, you know? So I would say just the more of the emotional support level, I would say, is how I at least would try to say I'm giving back to what COR gave me.
Mm-hmm. And being from Stanford is like kind of far away, so mine's more of a broader screen, but kind of just being like a role model and being the platform that college football does give us, kind of just being able to use my words and of influence on the kids that are younger. So whenever I do get to talk to them, try to give them words of wisdom or things that I did that helped me, so they can install that into their daily lives. And so kind of just like using the platform that we have to kind of just inspire them and to help them and give them a way to out of certain situations that they are in.
Just to jump in real quick too, some of the stuff that they don't even, I think, realize that they have done with their actions in the past have made a huge influence on some of the guys now that they didn't maybe even intentionally say or do with the intention of leaving a legacy, have left a legacy. So, for example, just a couple days ago, a kid asked me, well, what did Nate Peat do to get to Stanford? Because that kid is struggling in school and needs to know, how do I get the grades I need? And so what Nate did his senior year was literally lock himself in a room upstairs in an office and just grind it out and study. And so it was using that example of, well, this is what Nate did, or Nate put Post-its on his computer every night of his to-do list. And so that kid now has started putting Post-its on his laptop every day. And so little things that like Nate didn't intentionally have to call that kid and tell him, but kind of that legacy of the example that Nate set. And Tez last semester came back to our building with 3 football guys 2 or 3 days a week to volunteer. And so he was coming and just even telling stories of, you know, what it took his senior year to get the grades he needed, and just kind of even being a presence. We got to witness him giving back and kind of that circular, you know, kind of example, which was neat for our younger guys to see, because when these guys walk in the building, the whole atmosphere changes. The culture of our building changes, and the guys straighten up a little bit more and get a little bit more serious. We don't have to tell the guys to study when these guys walk in, because they want to instantly impress them. And so it's not even that they're having to say words, it's just their presence and what the example that they set prior to, you know, them being in COR. That's already a legacy in the making.
That's amazing. How sweet is that? That you have a kid asking, how he can grow up and be like Nate and get to Stanford. That's pretty sweet. I love that.
It's pretty sweet. And what's interesting too is the way you guys talked about it. You made it seem like such a not a big deal. And Tez, you were like, well, we're still in college, so we can't give back in big ways. And I'm thinking like, dude, that's like the biggest way you could possibly give back is to have somebody younger than you looking up to you. And especially if you're telling me that the culture of COR is sometimes that people don't always come from the most fortunate situations. To take somebody from that and give them a role model to look at, I think that's huge, man. So you guys are either super humble or like not yet aware of like how powerful that is, but I think that's extremely exciting. And it is a legacy podcast. I mean, we're talking about legacy and what it means to everybody.
Yeah, I think one thing along with the legacy is obviously Angie did not play collegiate football. I did not play collegiate football. And so a lot of the legacy is this where athletics meets, just the guys that we have. And so when we can point to these guys that have done the right things in high school and lived the right way and worked hard and both athletically and academically, and we can point to them for the younger guys and say, this is how you do that. This is how you get there. That's a legacy that is a part of COR that we didn't create. We just created this atmosphere where these guys we hoped could thrive, and they took advantage of it. And that's what I think, it's when we talk about the legacy of COR, for us, it's the legacy of guys like Nate and Martez and the guys that came before them, that they were the examples that we're looking. And that's not anything that we could have ever manufactured, which is pretty cool to have, for them to have a legacy that they maybe didn't even intend to have, So sometimes it's just the way you live your life and the things that you do right. You don't know the significance of that at the time, but people are always watching. So
Angie, Travis, how many people have gone through how many guys have gone through the program to have a college experience?
It's, if I thought about it hard enough, I could come up with a specific answer. I would say Division I guys, we've had.
So I'm just thinking about the pennants.
Yeah.
It's got to be over 40
College?
Division I. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pennants.
And you said you guys started in 2013.
13.
Like officially, that was day one.
Yeah. So for example, last year we graduated, was it 9?
9.
Or with battle guys, we had 11.
Yeah.
And all but one went to college. Majority went to play athletics. So I think all but one started out playing collegiate athletics, which is pretty cool. So we had, just last year we had, or 2 years ago, we had UMass, we had Stanford, we had Mizzou, we had Central Methodist,
Baptist.
yeah, Central Missouri State, or I guess it would seem, whatever it used to be. So yeah, it's probably around, I'd say over 10 Division I guys since we've started, which is pretty fun to see those guys play on Saturdays, and for our guys, to watch them play and be like, that guy, I hang out with that guy at COR, like guys watching Tez play, or Nate, it's pretty cool that they show up at the building and it's like, oh my gosh, that's Martez Manuel, that's Nate Peat. So yeah, I'd say, but I think over 10 and probably over 40 college athletes have come through COR, just in general.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if that seems like a lot to you, Kevin, but for like 7 years, that seems like a lot.
Yeah, that's incredibly successful. Like, that's amazing that you guys have so many amazing stories to point back to. I want to talk more about the athletics piece to this. And I don't want to get too political, but obviously athletics, both in the high school and collegiate scene, have been a little bit of a mess, you could say, over the last 6 months or so. And I think some people are very worried about some of those sports coming back. But I think a lot of people are learning that football at the high school and collegiate level is more than just entertainment for people in the stands. For you guys, it is everything. And it means a lot to continue a drive to do well academically, and it puts people into your lives to kind of keep you guys on the right track. What has football meant to you?
Man, it's kind of indescribable in a way. I mean, football is sometimes my biggest motivation, you know what I mean? Like, it was a way for me to be, different than my parents and get a college degree, you know what I mean? Or even in a way, if I'm lucky enough, you know what I mean, a way for me to be able to take care of my parents and retire them one day, Football it's just been the greatest distraction I've ever had in my life, you know, just from all the bad. And when you're growing up, you know what I mean, kids could call you names and stuff for acting different, if that's even in a good way. You know what I mean? They're kids. Kids are mean, you know. But, like, kids would call us weird and stuff because we didn't go to parties or we didn't drink or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, like, football is the reason, you know, like, there's no other reason. And, like, you don't really find people who are, like, that committed to a game, you know? And, like, that's what was the biggest thing about playing this fall. It was just like, man, like, you're going, like, personally, in both of us, honestly, because we came back around the same time. Like, when quarantine happened, that was our third day of spring ball. That was like February, I think. And, like, I had been working out since then every single day. You know what I mean? So once fall came around, it was like all that might be for none in a way, you know? So it was like we might not even be playing. So, which, I mean, like, it crushes you because, like I said, like, even in ways like football determines what I eat, you know what I mean? How much water I'm drinking every day. Sometimes it even, I mean, I know it's probably not the best, but sometimes it even depends on, like, if I'm going to church, you know, like, it depends on how football is going and stuff like that. You know, football is, like, it's such a great game, and it's so much more than just a game, you know, like, people don't realize how much of an effect it has on people's lives who commit so much to it, you know, and that's why I feel like it can be so hard when you see, like, NFL guys when they're done playing because they spent their whole lives playing it. But, like, man, it's just a blessing every step that I get to take that others can't take. You know what I mean? With football and, like, football, yeah, man, that's a tough question. I feel like I'm rambling on and on, but, like, yeah, man,
No, I think you captured the emotion of it, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
like, just sitting here listening to you talking about it, I can tell that it changed your life,
For
you know?
sure,
And,
yeah.
like, for better or for worse, you probably wouldn't be the same person without football.
For
And for
sure.
everybody who thinks it's just a game, it is more than that. It can be just a game, but the lessons you learn, I'm sure, are much bigger than that. Nate, what about you? What is football? What does it mean to you?
For me, it's definitely a safe haven. Like Tess was saying, it definitely just changed our whole lifestyle growing up. Like, it gave us something to look forward to. It gave us something to put all our passion into. Like you said, like, people question us on, like, our daily routine, like, why do we go to COR, or, like, why do we do this? Why do we stay in? Why do we always hang out with each other? Because we have something to look forward to. We have football. We have all this. And without football, like, I just don't know where I'd be right now, to be honest. But yeah, I'm especially feeling the effects right now of not being able to play football because Pac-12 isn't canceled their season and working to have a season right now. But yeah, seeing everybody playing football and me not even be able to suit up right now, I'm definitely feeling the effects because it was something that I looked forward to every day. It was grueling at times, but at the end of the day, it was something that I love to do, and that a common thing that me and Martez share. And so, like, me not being able to play is something that's, like, been taken away from me, and yeah, definitely put me through some dark times, but, like, I love it.
What's interesting is, like, we see all the negativity and all the confusion about the NCAA season this year. And, like, if you're on Twitter, which, Kevin, you're a Twitter hawk. Are you following this on Twitter right now?
Always, everything.
Anyway, but we've seen all these guys getting really emotional about or maybe the possibility of not playing this season or it looking different. And I think people sometimes think, like, how can you be that wrapped up in just a game? But it's a part of your guys' story, and it's a part of your guys' friendship. And when that gets taken away, that's impactful. And
Sure.
and I can see that. I want to rewind and talk about one thing that you guys said. You guys said in high school you didn't go out and you didn't party and you didn't drink. But in all the movies, you know, that's what everybody does, right? So, like, what would you say to people who want to live that superficial, glamorous, like, Hollywood Friday Night Lights lifestyle? But you guys walked a different walk. What would you say to them?
I mean, I'd say that, like, all that's kind of superficial. I mean, the way we saw it was you got to grind for what you got. Like, we heard stories about, like, Alex Ofadale and, like, his quarterback going after practice, like, throwing catches and stuff like that. So knowing that, me and Ted just thought, like, all right, if they're going to do that, we got to do something better, or we got to do the exact same thing. So at a moment in time, we were working out every day after school, just, like, on the field. And it could even be, like, by ourselves or, like, a small group of people. But every day we'd find something to get better. And so that carried off into our social life as well, because other people had other aspirations, but we wanted to go D1 for sure. So
Yeah, I would to add on what Nate's saying, like you asked about what would you say about people who want to live like that Friday Night Lights. I would just say, if you're not, like, you have to know what you're sacrificing. You have to sacrifice something, you know, like if you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing, how can you expect to get a different outcome? You know what I mean? Like if everyone else in your football team is, after practice is over, they're going inside and they're going home, you know what I mean? Then what are you going to do to be different? What are you going to do to exceed that? If that's catching extra passes after, you know what I mean, running some extra, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, in whatever context it might be, or if that's watching film, you know, I would just say, like, to the party and all that, like, you just have to know what's important to you. And you have to think long term. I would say partying, like it's really, I mean, it's honestly really sad. Like, you'll see people, and I feel like everyone's high school does it, but like, here's people like now, like 2 years, I've been in high school for 2 years, and I still see people who are doing the same thing, you know what I mean? Still going to high school parties even, you know? And like, I just feel like that I'm so much happier because like I can do all that stuff in the future when I've chased and when I've gotten what I was chasing, you know? So like, I'm willing to sacrifice it now. I'm willing to sacrifice it then so that I can do what I know really is going to bring me joy, bring me happiness, you know, and I can do it at a high level, I would say.
Just to chime in real quick, because I don't think I don't think everybody listening maybe kind of knows a schedule of what these guys did in high school, which is kind of, when we kind of tell people the schedule, I think people are surprised, is that their daily schedule was typically, did y'all do advanced strength usually before
we did
school?
0 hour.
Yeah, so like normally their advanced strength training class started at 7:30 in the morning, and then school started, after that at 8:55. They went through the day. Lunch was at 10:30, which was crazy. Then they started practice at 4:05 or 4:30 when school ended. They came to COR at 7:30. COR gets done at 10:30 at night. And then as I would be driving Nate home, Martez would FaceTime him from when he got home. And I'd be like, why? You guys were just together all day. Why is he FaceTiming? And what was it? 100 push-ups or 100 sit-ups is what they would do together on FaceTime at night. And it was like, for me, I was like, y'all just spent all day together and they were up at 7:30. And so that to me was a testament to their dedication, not only to the grind, but I don't think anybody on the outside looking in knew what these guys were sacrificing. And so when you're talking about like, oh, it's just, people think it's just a game, it was literally a lifestyle for these guys, not just in season, it was year round, because these guys also did track together. And it was like, there was no off season. And I think, it was academics and off season workouts and going to API and doing season together. And I think it was literally like Martez was saying, that short-term sacrifices for long-term effects is what their mindset had to be. And that's what the younger guys saw, and that's what they saw the older guys, like they're talking about Alex O'Fadley, that's what they saw him doing. And so it's like this trickle effect was happening that now hopefully younger guys are seeing. The last class of guys saw them doing it, and so they did it also. And so it's just like this kind of hopefully like, wave effect that's been going on. But the sacrifices that they made, I couldn't have done it. It was just a grind that was, incredible. And I don't think they would ever brag on themselves and tell how they did it, but their daily schedule was amazing.
This is why we have 4 people, so that you guys can brag on Angie and Travis, and you guys can brag on the guys. It's perfect. Kevin, this is stuff people figure out like when they're 45 or never.
Yeah, this is amazing. You guys are incredible. This is
Not to toot you guys' horns, but this is I'm feeling guilty about what I'm not doing.
I'll FaceTime you tomorrow. We'll do 100 push-ups.
Dude, I'll get to maybe 45.
10 years ago, Oklahoma was #1 in the country in football. They came to Columbia. It was the biggest deal of all time. Game day was here. Everybody, it was homecoming. It was the perfect scenario. Mizzou ran back the opening kickoff. And there are still, 10 years later, nights where I will lay in bed and think about that moment. It's one of the most amazing moments of my life. You guys actually make those moments come true and like are responsible for them. What is that moment, that play that you did, that you remember and think about? It's like your #1 go-to moment.
Probably so last year, my true freshman year, I started a game against Kentucky, and that was like a surreal moment. But the week before that, I got thrown into a game because one of our starters got a targeting call. And I got my first tackle on an all-SEC running back who was like, he's playing for the Raiders right now, I believe.
Who was it?
Keyshawn Vaughn is his name.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just like a moment where it was just like, I could just feel like everything paying off, you know what I mean? And like, cause like, I was like, you just don't see a lot of freshmen get to put in that opportunity. And then for the other one, I would say probably the last play of the game, our junior year, when we against Rockhurst. Rockhurst was the number 3 team in the state, and we were like coming off a 2-8 year. I mean, we were both. That was our junior year, so the team before our varsity before that came off a 2-8 year, and like we were like honestly expected to get the floor wiped with us, and like the whole game was just a constant battle, and we ended up winning. And then the last play of the game, it was like a Hail Mary shot from Rockhurst, and like we broke it up. And like I just remember like after we broke up the pass, and like the first thing I did was like look at the scoreboard, and I saw the zeros, and I saw we won, and I looked at the sideline in the stands, and like I just saw like everyone rushing, like the sideline rushing, like our coaches, like we didn't shake their hands or anything, we just rushed the field and stuff. It was a crazy moment. It was kind of like, in a way, I would say like the turning curve, because I mean after that we were 9-2 my junior year and 9-2 my senior year as well. You know what I mean? So after that, it was just, I would say it was just like where I could finally start to see like, man, like when I was a freshman coming up to Rockbridge and doing ladders by myself, you know what I mean? Walking up here and stuff, like that was when I could finally see like it was worth it. You know, I got to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that was a really big moment for me, I would say.
Sounds amazing. Nate, what was your moment?
I'd say for college, it was definitely one of my first runs. It was night game at USC, full stadium, and so they just threw me out there. It was a wide pass, and so I got the first down, but what my teammates would tell me was like I was like a little like scat bag that wouldn't go down. So like they didn't end up tackling me, but like it was one of those like gang tackles where
Right,
like,
where they just blow the whistle eventually because
whistle,
you're like on the 5-yard line all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I was on the USC sideline, so it was like everybody just talking to me. I could hear the stadium just like a roar whenever I got the ball, and so that was definitely a surreal moment right there. And I'd say for high school football, the Rockers game was definitely one of my highlights too, just because I had like 36 carries that game. I feel like I had the team on my back for the offensive side, and so I felt like that was a very surreal moment. But I feel like one of my favorite moments was probably Rockhurst our senior year. I had 2 98-yard touchdowns. I felt like that was a pretty fun game for me. And then,
Casual.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a decent game.
A lot of people have one of those. I mean,
Yeah, it was like the first play of the game too, so it was pretty fun.
Why are you guys getting pinned on the 2-yard line? Twice.
I don't know.
What's going on?
I'm pretty sure the first play,
I think
the QB like fumbled the ball, and so
Yeah.
we got sent even further back, and so we're on the 98.
But the reason that we keep talking about Rockhurst is because like we had like a 17-year like losing streak to them.
Ooh.
I
Like,
think we
'cause
like
they
never
were-
beat them.
They
Yeah.
were always our season opener, and like we always lost to them. So our junior year we beat them by 3 points, and then our senior year we went there, and that was our first home opener loss in 25 years. Because like
Dang.
like their coach coached their dads. You know what I mean? Like no exaggeration there. But like that's why like Rockhurst is like this big thing for us, because like it was always you guys should not win this game.
Yeah,
you know
we're
what
always
I mean?
underdog in that
Yeah.
type of game.
so your school was behind you. They were pumped up.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, from a coach's perspective, that's like the game that you realize that your team's going to believe that they're actually good enough to compete. Because a lot of sports in general, it's not necessarily the physical; it's believing that you're good enough to compete with anybody, and going out and doing that. And so when their junior year, I mean, you had parents on the sidelines crying because they'd never seen that happen, and they kind of know what that means to beat a team like that, and what that means for those kids' confidence. And so it was pretty cool to, from a coach's perspective, seeing that happen. And it was, the day it was like 105
Hot
degrees
day.
or something like that.
And
One
with
of
a
our
new
middle
coach, too.
linebackers, his cleats melted twice, so he had to get brand new cleats from another kid. I mean,
Wow.
That's
It was-
pretty
it was a
hardcore
wild
in
day,
terms
yeah.
of how it goes.
yeah. So
That
That's
is wild.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience and win for you guys to have in your back pocket, because to do something that hasn't been done in 25 years. I mean, anything else comes your way in life, and you're like, it doesn't matter if it's never been done before. I'd do it again.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Actually, so on a prior episode, we talked to somebody about David Goggins, and I don't know if you guys know who David Goggins is, but he's this just incredible like motivational speaker, athlete. He was a guy who, real brief, he was like 300 pounds, but his life was going nowhere, and he decided he wanted to become a Navy SEAL, but he had to lose 100 pounds in like 60 days or like 90 days or something. So he lost the weight, joined the SEALs, and since then he's become like the only guy to do like all the major trainings for like the Navy, the Army, and probably somebody else for all I know. But he was talking about how when he is in a moment that's difficult, he just thinks back on all the other things that he's accomplished in life and all the things that he's overcome to get to this moment. And that's something that always propels him forward. And it sounds like you guys looking to that Rockhurst game is probably something you guys are never going to forget.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and I completely, I never even knew that story, but like, I can for sure see that, like sometimes, like, for sure, because we were in track also, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes when you're just having like that nervous feeling in your stomach, we got to race or something, you'd be like, man, like, I raced at the state meet, you know what I mean, when I was 16 years old, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that, and it just gives you that sense of security, like, I've accomplished this before, so I know I can accomplish this now. So, yeah, it's pretty
And it's
dope.
cool that you bring that up because I was going to ask you because you were talking about your first tackle in college football on a big time SEC player. Like, did you feel in that moment that you were like, I belong here? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm here. Like, I tackled this guy. And what's crazy too is like people watching the game, they probably didn't know it was your first tackle. You know, it just looked like football to everybody. But for you, that was big time. Like,
Yeah.
what was that feeling like?
I would for sure say, because like it was like I didn't like get any help. This is a senior. He was a senior. I was a freshman. You know what I mean? I was thrown out there. I mean, if I'm being honest, I kind of got that. My coach has a look in his eye, like, I don't know about this. You know what I mean? And it was like a solo tackle on the sideline, like a big hit, and like it was just like a, you know what I mean? It's like a whoa. You know what I mean? It was. I stood up and I was like wow, like I'm here, like everything, like, yeah, man, it's just crazy.
Kevin, I think that's the moment people live for, honestly. The moment where it's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's us in the stands watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I want to jump into the Jamaica trip. We've heard all these rumors and rumblings about the Jamaica trip, and it sounds like it was really meaningful to both of you. So tell us about it. Nate, you go first.
It was definitely something we were looking forward to. Me and Tez, we've gone to like summer camps all of our years in high school.
Yeah.
And so we were looking forward to going to Jamaica because I'm pretty sure it's a trip that a lot of core guys take with their class. So we were waiting just to go with our class. And so it was really exciting and very humbling as well, just to see like what other people go through and how they are sufficient with what they have, and how we sometimes complain about what we have in our daily lives, but for them it's just a joy to be alive. It's a joy to have what they have, and for them to be content with that. It's very humbling for us, and it was very life-changing for me as well.
Yeah, just to add on what Nate said, so like when we said we took the summer camps every year, but the Young Life camp, I feel like we didn't touch on Young Life enough either, but like
No.
Young Life was probably just as much, or if not more, of an influence on us than COR sometimes. You know what I mean? And that's crazy because Young Life camp is only 1 week and we're at COR all year, you know? But like Young Life is really like bonded us because like there's something called cabin time that you have every night. I don't mean to get off track, but and that's when like the first time we were all freshmen, I think, and that's like the first time we like truly like, it's like you're locked in a room. Travis was our leader, and like that's when you truly find out like your brother's like pains and like what truly eats him up, what you don't see. And like we learned stuff about each other that like we'll take to the grave for us, you know what I mean? And like stuff that like we can always be there to support each other on. But to get back to the topic, but Young Life Camp is like it's literally like the best place on earth, you know what I mean? It's a resort for kids in a way, you know what I mean? So Jamaica was the complete opposite. Like it was like you're living with these people in their day-to-day lives, you know what I mean? And like you get to see like I'm complaining about, you know what I mean, living in a duplex. These people are sleeping in the closet, you know what I mean? Like crazy stuff like that, you know, like it's just like Nate said, like a huge reality check, a huge humbling moment, and like it was just something really dope that we got to spend with each other, you know, and like a full week of just helping like change the world in a way, you know, and like we get to like we went to an elementary school there in Jamaica, and like to see the kids, and like you talk to kids here and like oh man, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a rock star. I want to be, I don't know, in the army, anything like that. But I remember I was talking to a kid. I have a picture with him, actually. I was talking to a kid back in Jamaica in Harmons, and I was like, hey man, like, what do you want to do when you get older? Like, what do you want to be? And he was like, I just want to get out of Jamaica. You know what I mean? Like crazy stuff, because like this is all they know, this is all they see. And a lot of them will probably live and die here, and like we have so much privilege that we don't realize, and I feel like just going there and experiencing that together, and then when you come back, you look at life completely different. You look at life like a true blessing, So, yeah.
Were there any changes that you made like right away when you got back? Like, was there any or was it more of just a mindset and a gratefulness?
For me, it was like very life changing. It kind of shaped what I wanted to do in the future. Seeing everything they've been through and hearing the stories from Martez about the school, it motivated me to. I was saying in my Stanford essay that me and Angie were constructing, but I was basically saying that, like now, going through Jamaica, I kind of want to go to like third world countries and kind of solidify an educational system in those countries to where they can be self-sufficient on their own, and so that they can educate themselves and bring up the poverty level so that they can be sufficient on their own and not have to have mission people go there, but have their own people help themselves and kind of solidify education. Because whenever we were going, we'd see like a bunch of kids piled up in a car or like not being able to go because isn't there like one school in Harmons? Mm-hmm. So like it's very hard for all the children to go, and they usually drop out before high school. So I feel like solidifying an educational system there would be very beneficial for the people.
Well, even if they do get through high school, what's next for people there?
It's usually just jobs and stuff like that. I mean, college isn't like what they're looking forward to in Harmons, and so, I mean, I feel like it's just like a generational thing. They go through school and it's like they're doing exactly what their parents are doing, or it's just like a generational poverty.
I feel like what we're not touching on though, like, is like we're saying all these things and it sounds super sad, but the people in Harmons have complete pride over all of it. You know what I mean? Like they're not ashamed of. They're not worried about what they don't have. They're worried about what they do have, and they love what they do every day. They love who they are. They love their identity. So yeah.
Yeah, you guys had mentioned YoungLife, and a lot of our listeners might not be familiar with what that is. Can you tell us a little bit more about what YoungLife actually is?
Yeah, so YoungLife is a non-denominational Christian outreach organization. It's nationwide. It's been around since the 1940s, and it's here in Columbia at all the high schools, and it's like I said, it's nationwide. They have camps across the country, and it's the camp setup is as opposed to some other church maybe outreach camps or things like that, is you go with leaders that you have relationships with already, and so the camp has like a staff there that they perform the program and provide the meals and do all of the maintenance work on the camp. But your leaders, the person that you're with, is a leader that you've spent time with throughout the year. And so I got the opportunity to go with these guys because I was coaching them. I coached them their freshman year in football, and then they came to COR, so I knew them and had the opportunity to go to YoungLife camp with them. And so it's a cool setup. It's very relationship-driven ministry. And so these guys went 3 times, I think. They went to twice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, 3 times. 3 times.
I didn't go 3 times.
That's a sore. We might get to that at some point when we get to the heartaches in life for Tezo. But yeah, that's kind of how YoungLife works. So.
Yeah. So kind of going off what he was saying, he kind of introduced us to what YoungLife was and told us to come to a couple of the Wednesdays. But we have like heard about it from like other COR guys going, so like we kind of knew that we wanted to go. But the summer camps were just like surreal. That's where I found my faith, and so where I solidified my faith in Jesus Christ. And so for all of us, it was kind of just like life changing, and like actually like I feel like with like masculine people and like definitely people in like football, it's kind of hard to like share our emotions stuff like that. But being like open with like my friends, it kind of like solidified our group, knowing the pains that we're going through, because like that's not something like guys really talk about, or it's a struggle that we go through. And so being able to open up was definitely like changing for me and like definitely for a lot of the other guys. And so going through that so many times, and then like now we're like open to each other all the time, which is great for like our friendship and what we're going through. So it makes it easier on our lives and it solidified our bond with Jesus as well.
I think me and Nate were the only people, because we the trips are super expensive, by the way. But you have to fundraise, you know what I mean, do like stuff like that. Me and Nate were like our freshman year, we were the only two to like just like we were fundraising like so much, you know what I mean, just like doing everything that we could. And the first thing that we went on was something called Nonstop Weekend, which was super cool. And it was like, and none of our other friends went, so me and Nate were the only ones there. And I don't even think Trav, did you go to that?
I had a wrestling tournament, so I couldn't.
So we ended up going to Minneapolis. And so what Nonstop Weekend is it's like you get on a bus Friday night and it doesn't stop moving, or like, you know what I mean? Like you don't stop. You don't stop anywhere for a hotel in like the whole weekend. You know what I mean? That's what it's called, Nonstop Weekend.
It makes sense when you say it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that's what it was, but I'm getting it now.
Yeah. So we ended up we went from Columbia to Minneapolis, and like we went to the Mall of America. We went to a Timberwolves game. We went to like a Sky Zone place, and like it was just like super dope. And it was something that like only me and him did. You know what I mean? So we got to be able to come back and tell all of our friends like, if this was just one weekend, we have to go to the camp. You know what I mean? And that was like, I would say a really big moment for me to like, where I was like, your Young Life is so awesome. And then, but also I know Nate was saying like, at least for me and my friends, like I had never seen anything like Young Life Camp when I got there. You know what I mean? I was like, there's so much more to life, you know what I mean, than what I've seen, you know what I mean? Or like what the struggles that my parents go through, the struggles that my family goes through, you know what I mean? There's like such a brighter side. And that's when I truly started to like, man, like I want something better for me and my family when the time comes. So I feel like Young Life in a way really like showed me, same with COR, same with Rockbridge, same with the Crossing. The Crossing was a big part of me too, you know what I mean? And like it just really showed me like, wow, people who have life figured out, you know what I mean? There's not people like some of the role models in my life at the time were like, they're still kind of learning life as they go. You know what I mean? There's people that have this figured out, and I want to follow their footsteps, and I want to get mentored for them so that I can have it figured out too when time comes.
I was going to ask you guys, do you guys have role models now? Like, who do you look up to?
For me growing up, it was definitely my brother. That's where I learned football from. In the backyard, we should be going through drills. I didn't know I was just copying him, but he definitely led me to where I am today. And then just learning from what he did definitely solidified like what I am today. And so he was my role model growing up for me.
I would say I've had a couple role models. One being my older brother too, Marcus. He was a big role model. Another one, in a way, I say would be my father. And then a really big role model for me was introduced to me when I went to COR my freshman year, and we started doing this thing called academic coaches. And that's I don't know if you guys know him, but his name is Joel Shermer, and like he's like I can't even describe it. Like, he started as like a guy who'd come every Wednesday and check my grades my freshman year to like now like I'm like the god brother of his daughter, you know what I mean? And like we're like brothers in a way, you know. And it's like he's like way older than me. I think he's like around one of their ages and stuff.
Ancient.
Yeah.
So
not ancient, but
I had to say it.
But
Joel
yeah.
and I are probably the same age.
But yeah, I mean, he's awesome, and like he's really been able to show me like what a true man is, you know what I mean, how a true man treats his wife, how a true man carries himself, you know what I mean, takes care of his family, and like it's just super like dope that I was able to learn from him and learn like how to be a man in a way from him. So yeah.
I love what you said there, and it's something that I wanted to touch on, but I didn't know if it was fair game to go there. Do you guys feel like you've had a pressure to be a certain way, like your whole life, like as a man, and then also as a football player, and then also, just to be honest, as black guys? You know what I mean? Because we don't. One of the things that has bummed Kevin and I out about the Final Vibe podcast is that we've been interviewing a lot of just white people, and we want to get outside of that, and we want to hear other points of view, because we just don't know what it's like to grow up in a different culture. Being black men, what do you want to be? You know what I mean? And like, because you're talking about how Joel has been a positive influence on you. Why so much?
I would say, and that's another thing. I actually just wrote about it in an essay that I wrote for one of my classes. It feels like going to Rockbridge as a black man, you know what I mean? A lot of times you're the only black kid in a lot of your classes. I can't tell you how many times growing up I was told, like, I can't talk to a certain girl because her dad doesn't like black people or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, crazy stuff. Like, I feel like it's always like I'm trying to prove somebody wrong, you know? And, like, I mean, I know it sounds, like, kind of sad to say, but, like, it's just, like, at least for me, I'll speak for myself here. I was more like if they think this about me just because of my skin color, you know what I mean? Like, what a powerful statement it is if I prove them wrong or if I do exactly what they're telling me I can't do. You know what I mean? So I would feel like that. And I mean, it shouldn't be this way, but I feel like, in a way, like, my whole journey from arriving to Columbia in the 8th grade to now, it's just been like proving people wrong and like making a list, you know what I mean, and checking it twice in a way, you know, just like, but also proving myself right, I would say, you know what I mean, and proving like I can be exactly who I've dreamed of being, you know what I mean, and I feel like I'm starting to really become the person who I wanted to be my freshman year when I was hearing about these alumni and hearing about all this stuff. But like, something that I really was focusing on in my essay was like the bad part you don't hear about. I remember I said, like, when I came to Rockbridge, I heard about how great this school was and like how everything, I mean, this legacy that Rockbridge has across the country, but like you also don't hear about the really like bad side of it. You know what I mean? Like the racist side and like the prejudice side that's there. And I mean, it's there everywhere, you know, but like Rockbridge being a predominantly white school, it's something that you feel a lot, and it's not even said to you, but you can feel the vibe from classmates or like teachers, you know what I mean? They're like, it's just your skin. That's it, you know? So I feel like that it's just always been, and it's always going to be a constant battle to just proving myself right and proving others wrong, I would say.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I mean, me and Tez definitely saw during Rockbridge. There's a place in Rockbridge where predominantly black student athletes sit. It's called Africa. And so going through high school, like, we'd just say, yeah, we're going to Africa. And white people would be like, yeah, we shouldn't go over Africa, or they're uncomfortable sitting in Africa. So we kind of went through that. It kind of became a norm at Rockbridge, which was kind of disgusting in a way. But I'm glad to hear that it's kind of fading away from people that are there now. But it's kind of what we went through in high school. And so kind of just going through that, it's kind of like putting people wrong. Because, I mean, I've had people tell me that, like, thought that I was mispronouncing Stanford, say I'm going like Sanford or something like that. Yeah, but I've had school staff tell me that I should stay away from going to prestigious schools because my top schools back at the time were Northwestern, Stanford, I'm pretty sure it was like Navy or something like that. Told me to stay away from these prestigious schools or applying. Yeah, it was kind of just like proving people wrong. They're like, yeah, I can get to this place. I can be African American going to Stanford. And so, yeah, kind of just reiterating what he's saying, like proving people wrong. I feel like that's kind of like the lifestyle that I had and still have right now.
I mean, as like terrible it is to hear you guys say this, like how meaningful is it though to have proved so many people wrong already? And you're only halfway in the story. I mean, you guys are already like glaring success stories. Before we were on the podcast, we were on YouTube, and there's like all kinds of videos of you guys and like signing and like just all this positive energy and people rallying around you. Like, how good does it feel? Not like selfishly, but just to know that you became something that maybe people never thought you would become, or you became something for yourself that you didn't know you could become. Like, does that feel good?
I'd say it definitely feels good to be that I've went through everything I went through, and I'm at the place I want to be right now. And I definitely didn't get here by like ourselves. Like, we've definitely had a lot of teachers, a lot of like Angie and Travis. They've always been behind our backs and motivating us. And so it's definitely something to like look back on and be like, I really went through this, and I really took the right steps, did the right things, and hung out with the right people to get to where I'm at right now. And so I'm definitely blessed to be where I'm at. And so, especially with the friends I have, because I feel like if anything would have changed, had different friends, would have went to COR, when I went to the camps, I definitely would have been somewhere else right now. So definitely grateful.
Yeah, to add off what Nate was saying, yeah, I mean, it's an awesome feeling. But like you were saying too, like it's only halfway done, you know what I mean? And like until I get my degree, you know what I mean, or until I don't even know, you know, it's just something that there's always a new thing on the checklist every day, you know what I mean? Wake up and I have a new goal in mind and stuff. And it's just like just being able to like give credit back to COR and give credit back to YoungLife, give credit back to God. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just been a really awesome thing, I'd say.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that question, by the way. I tried to make it not uncomfortable,
Yeah,
but I
that's
know that
cool.
was dicey territory. So
No, that's
I
cool.
appreciate it. I appreciate
For
it.
sure. I feel like it's something that isn't talked about enough, you know?
And like we want this podcast to be a place for that, you know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you guys tapping into that. And it's also just to be totally honest, and I'll probably cut this, but as white dudes, it's just like sometimes we feel like we can't say it the right way, you know, but we want to. And we want to
Yeah.
be a part of like making it right and making it better, you know.
Yeah.
So appreciate your grace if I stumbled over anything.
No problem.
Good.
Tez, you mentioned goals, and you get new ones every day, and we're not really sure what the future holds. But let's talk about the goals that you have, all of you guys, and what you want the future of your life to look like maybe after college, and what the future of COR looks like as well. We'll start with you, Tez.
For sure, when I get my degree, obviously.
Real quick, what are you studying?
I was studying civil engineering, but I switched over to sports management because I'm really interested in. So speaking of Joel again, like I'm really interested in like what he does, and like it's really cool like how he like brings together like partnerships from like Andes and like all these different places with the University of Missouri and stuff like that. It's just really dope. So I've started to study that and stuff. But goals, just to be able football. Let's talk about football goals. Just be able to play every week like the best I can. I've actually a big goal of mine this season was to be starting, which I am. You know what I mean? So that's something that was pretty dope for me. But it's just like I really don't want to get too ahead of myself. You know what I mean? I don't want to think long term right now. I just want to just prepare every week and like just be able to play like the best me. You know what I mean? Be the best version of me week in and week out. I think is a big thing that is important for my sophomore campaign. So yeah, and then also just just continue to be a light. You know what I mean? Don't fall into the traps of college or the traps of temptation. You know what I mean? Continue to be a light for my younger siblings back home. You know, or like people at COR, younger guys at COR, you know, just continue to be something they can look up to and not fall into the wrong path, you know. So
Will you tell us more about your siblings?
yeah, so I have a ton. I have my older brother Marcus, who I mentioned earlier. He's playing football at Southwest Baptist. I have a younger brother named Trey. He's a freshman at Northwest Missouri State. I have another little brother named McCaleb. He's a freshman at Rockbridge. I'm trying to get to one of his games pretty soon. Another younger brother named Donovan. He is my brother on my mom's side. He is playing football in Minnesota right now. He's in high school, his junior year. He lives with my grandma. And then another little brother, Makai, who is just started 6th grade at Gentry Middle School. So, I mean, and it's also pretty dope that like they're gonna be able to go to Rockbridge and stuff and like see my name on like the track record board and stuff like that, like in the locker room and stuff, on the Bruin All In and stuff. I have a little sister back home, Michaela, who she's just about to start her first year of kindergarten. So I mean, I really try to like take it upon myself to like go back home as much as I can and just show them like just because I'm not living here doesn't mean I don't care anymore, you know, and just kind of be like just being that positive role model for them, you know what I mean, to be able to show them like, because they're also young, you know, back at home with my parents. So just be able to show them like the positive outlet, the positive way to stay focused, stuff like that, I would say.
Super powerful, man. So cool. So cool. You guys got football in your blood, by the way.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, my grandpa played at Oregon, and then he played for the 49ers for a little bit, but had a neck injury. So,
Oh, no way.
but yeah, I would say it started with him.
Yeah, no kidding. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Nate, what about you? What are your goals, like academically, with football now, with life after football?
I'd say like my athletic goals right now are definitely just to solidify myself as like an offensive weapon, like get my name out there, try to I don't know, try so like people can know my name like worldwide and stuff like that. So solidify myself as like a playmaker and stuff like that. Academic wise, I think I'm gonna major in political science because I want to try and be like a lawyer and like solidify like the educational system in Jamaica, like I said before. Yeah, I'm trying to just like live life in the moment right now and kind of just like take one day at a time and set like daily goals. Like I'm gonna work out at this time. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And so that's kind of what my goals are right now.
I was gonna ask you guys too. Do you what are the things that you're doing every day, like the boxes you tick? What are the things that you do in terms of structure and discipline to get to those goals? Because one thing Kevin and I talk about all the time is that people are too quick to say that they have a goal, but never really take a step forward to achieving it. So with football, I'm sure it's like workouts, nutrition, and all that. But just like be specific with us. Like what is it actually like to grind for an athletic goal, an academic goal, a life goal?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, like, the football grind, I mean, if we're talking about the grind, it's only 2 hours of practice a day. But there's such a greater grind with just, like, going in early for treatment before practice, make sure you're eating right, watching film on your opponent that week, watching film on yourself and critiquing what you can do better. Something I try to do in the season is just every practice try to have something that I want to clean up and something I want to emphasize that day on. You know what I mean? I would say that, like, and it's crazy, and that this is the reason that, like, the off season is so great. Like, the off season is so, like, fun for athletes because, like, football, like, once football season starts, like, the grind doesn't end till the end of the season. You know, like, it's constant. Like, in a way, like, your life is, like, gone. You know what I mean? Like, your life outside of football, like, it's just you. I mean, you got to find time to get to church, and that's about it. And, like, that's the way it's supposed to be in school and stuff like that. But, like the grind doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like in the morning, I'll go back up and watch film early in the morning just so I can come back home and go back to sleep. So I can go back up and do a walkthrough with my team. You know what I mean? Just like crazy stuff. Like the grind never stops, and like it's just like a lot of commitment and it's a lot of extra. Like everyone in the country, everyone in the SEC is doing what their coaches has designed for them. You know, but like it's about the extra. I feel like it's a true grind. What you're doing extra to set yourself apart, just like high school. You know.
But it's definitely not going to fall in your lap.
No.
I don't get that vibe from either of you guys.
Yeah, and then like especially just like learning plays because in like high school there's only like maybe like 25 plays or something like that. But in college you're like studying so many plays. You learn what the opposite team is doing, especially like concepts and stuff like that. For running backs, pass pro is like one of the largest things to learn is like the learning curve because it's like you have to learn what the defense is doing and know what they're about to do. And so just learning that is hard enough. So it's like short-term goals like I'm going to know what's happening on this defense, or I'm going to study what I'm doing. Are my feet okay? Are my hands in the right place? Things that I key on for like goal-wise to like what he was saying, like in practice, I'm going to make sure my hands are in the right place, or make sure my feet are in the right place. I'm going to make sure I point to where the defense is going or stuff like that for goals.
Dude, I don't know anything about football. I just watch it.
Yeah, I think when I watched it, I'm like,
unbelievable.
I would have done, but I don't know anything.
No way. Yeah, that's crazy.
No.
That's crazy. That's cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Does it make you guys laugh knowing that people in the stands are like, I could have caught that, and then they're like,
seriously, what do you have to say to the
way.
What do you have to say to the heckler?
Yeah, it's definitely funny, especially like for me now, like watching, like being with other people watching the game. They're like, "Oh, you should have done this and done that." I'm like, "You did it right to me." So like,
and like, there's a lot more. Like, I mean, anybody would just be like, "Oh, their best receivers over there. I'm gonna run over there." But I mean, like, you gotta remember too, like your coach is in your back ear. You know what I mean? The whole game. So.
yeah.
The heckler doesn't know what the play call is. Heckler doesn't know what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? They just see what they see. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
What about the future of COR? Angie and Travis, the goals and where you would want the organization to go?
Yeah, so I think our ultimate goal, just thinking big picture wise, has a lot to do with legacy, actually. So our ultimate goal is that the guys that come through our program, we don't like calling it a program because it doesn't feel like a program. I don't think that you would get that vibe, but the guys that come through COR, that they would eventually be the ones that are pouring back into the guys that are like the younger kids. So that kids would graduate through, they'd go get their college degree or go out and do things in life, and then they would come back and that they would be tutors or they would be staff or they would be the ones that are making decisions on what we should be doing next for those kids that are the next generation. And so that's kind of our long-term big picture goal is that would happen. And like I said, we're only 7 years old, and so it's actually starting to happen. Tez this year came back, and I'm sure Nate would have done the same if he was here in town and not in Stanford. So that's one of our
Alex Ofadale working.
right. So yeah, Alex Ofadale, who the guys have mentioned multiple times. I don't know if we've actually introduced who that is.
I was going to
but
say, tell us who that is.
yeah, so Alex Ofadale was one of our first core kids that came through. He was the son of the head Rockbridge coach, AJ Ofadale, who played at Mizzou and was an NFL guy for a while. Alex came, I think, his junior year. He was a part of COR. It was our second year, and then was the first kid that we really had go through the full recruiting process on the elite level. So he was getting looks from all over the place, traveling every weekend to go on visits, and was being courted by a lot of the Power 5 Division I programs. He ended up in Oregon and then came back to finish up after he graduated from Oregon at Mizzou. So he was the first one that Angie and I had the opportunity to kind of figure out what does this look like for our students. So how do we help walk our kids through that process? So we kind of knew when these guys were going through it what that looked like, and we had resources like Alex. So but that's who Alex is. And so Alex came back, he got his master's degree, and now he's actually on staff with us. He's helping us with kids over at Hickman, which is kind of one of our goals was to expand. When we first started, we were just at Rockbridge, and then 2 years ago, we started with Battle students, and then this last year we started, was our first group of Hickman students. And so now we're in all three of the public high schools in Columbia. So yeah, so we're kind of already starting to see that cycle happen, but we'd love for at some point that would happen a lot more. So
I think one of our biggest things that we always keep in mind too is keeping like the main thing. And Travis mentioned, at the beginning that at the foundation of everything we do is relationship. We've talked a lot about, how fun it is watching these guys go D1 and hanging the pennants and watching them on Saturdays, and all that's great. And, it was so fun watching. I mean, I think I cried when Nate called me and said he got into Stanford, and that stuff's all amazing. I mean, that's really fun. But at the heart of what we do, it's definitely about relationships. And so no matter how many touchdowns these guys score or interceptions or all of that, that's fun, but it's nothing compared to the kind of men that these guys have become. And so keeping that at the heart of what we do, I think is what we long for as we grow. And so we spent all summer just talking about how to develop even deeper, this idea of, kind of talking through, like Travis said, this idea of, being humble and being coachable and talking through what it means to self-persevere and just these leadership qualities that mean a lot to us relationally with these guys. And so I think for the future of COR is definitely at the heart of it, relationship, growth. And so hoping to keep our eyes on that as we keep getting bigger and bigger and expanding. We just never want to take our eyes off of what's the most important thing, which is developing and helping, grow these young men into the kind of guys that Martez and Nate have become, and just providing an atmosphere and opportunities for that. It's not us that are doing it. It's just kind of providing an environment for that to hopefully happen. And so just making sure that we keep the main thing.
So well said. I think what's crazy is for everyone who's listening and not feeling the dynamic in this room is that it's like four of the most humble people that I've been around in a long time. And even though we're talking about D1 scholarships and touchdowns and being able to play football on Saturdays, I think you're right, Angie. It's like really obvious that you guys do keep the main thing. And you guys would not be products of this if that weren't true. So I just want to say that I think what you guys do is amazing. And we're not quite done yet, but I just want to say thank you for just what you guys are doing. It's amazing and super inspiring. Kevin, I think there's one really big important question we have to ask, and then maybe we can lighten things up.
Yes, there's a few questions we ask every guest that we have. One of them is pretty serious, pretty heavy, and then the rest are fun, and then we will wrap up from there. The first question, the big question, is the legacy question. We've talked about legacy all night, but if you had to sum it up in a short phrase, what does legacy mean to you? Nate, we'll start with you.
I'd say for me, legacy is learning from the people ahead and then being an example for the people that come after me. So that's kind of what legacy means to me. That's kind of what, how I learned legacy through COR and through Rockbridge, through my life.
And real quick, how do you want to be remembered? Like if you had it your way, what would people say about Nate Peat?
I hope that people would say that he's an honest person, hardworking person that whatever obstacle that faces him, that he tries to overcome with a good attitude and just a real wholesome person. Because I want to be remembered as somebody, as more than a football player. Because with the platform that I have, I want to be vocal for any minority or anything that I find unjust.
Awesome. What about you, Tez?
I would say that legacy for me is giving a kid somewhere something to dream about. I would say that, like, because I feel like at one point I was that kid, and I feel like, you know what I mean, my little brothers are that kid, you know what I mean, just giving a kid something to hear about, or his mom to tell him about one time driving in the car, and that being something that he thinks about when he's laying in his bed at night, you know, just being something that kids look up to, and something that is a dream, and something that will ultimately, that dream will turn into reality and change someone else's life like it's changed yours, I would say.
And when you're no longer playing under the lights, how do you want people to remember you?
I just want people to remember me as just someone who was always, like, real, you know what I mean? And someone who was never a bystander of wrong, you know what I mean? And, like, someone who would give their last to you because they just want to see you happy, just like they are. Someone that wants to spread joy and happiness, you know? That's what I'd say.
Awesome. Angie, what about you? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, so I think, gosh, in like 100 years, I don't think anyone's going to remember my name. They're probably going to look at a picture and not even, know who I am. So I think it's going to be just hopefully for someone who is pointing people to some bigger story, someone who could point someone to hope. And, I put my hope in something bigger, which is the Lord, and that my hope is that people remember me as pointing them towards that same thing, that I lived it out with my life, not just with my words, and that I was someone who was dependable and would make sacrifices so that, they could have that hope for themselves also. And just that my actions spoke louder than the words that I said to them.
Beautifully put. Travis, what about you? How do you want to be remembered?
For me, it's my personal legacy isn't something I really think too much about. I don't think much about what people are going to think about me when I'm gone or anything like that. This is deep, and this is probably going to get cut, by the way. But I recently, when we were thinking about justice, so Nate said that they both Martez and Nate talked about how they want to right wrongs and things like that. And so I've been thinking a lot more about my life and what it means to pursue justice. And one thing I recently came across was Tim Keller talking about, who's a pastor at a church in New York, written a lot of great books. But he says that in the Bible there are two words for justice. There's what's called mishpat, which is like the systems of justice that we have in place, and then there's sadiq, which is interpersonal justice, which is like how I would treat people that I come into contact with. So one is like the systems that I'm helping to create, and the other is the interpersonal relationships that I have with people in this room, with these guys. And so I think for my legacy, or what I think about how I want to live, it's that I want to be a person that interpersonally, when we're connecting with these guys, that they know that I've got their back. I want the best for them. It's not about me. It's about, and I think Angie feels the same way, is seeing them succeed. What things need to be in place to see them succeed? What can I do relationally, directly? And then what can I do to create systems? So COR, in some ways, is a system. Like when you look at it from the top down, it's relationships, but it's providing resources. It's providing the things that we think people need to correct some of the things that have been wrong in our society. So I think for me, it's those two things. I want to help build things like COR, and I also want to be the type of person while doing that is caring and concern for the people that they feel loved and cared for.
If you want us to cut that, you're gonna have to come to my house and
okay.
pull
Why
it,
would
pull
they
it off
cut?
of
That's
pull it off of my hard
Because
drive.
it's just like,
Okay, moving on. She
Yeah,
shut
so we'll
all of
probably
us
we'll
up.
probably cut that.
Yeah, cut that one.
Didn't really feel very
Okay.
meaningful. No, that's amazing. So many good themes. We appreciate you guys talking about legacy and sticking with us for an hour and a half. We do like to lighten things up at the end, ask you guys a couple fun questions, just leave on a positive note. And it's always fun for people who are listening to get to know you guys because people don't know everybody that comes onto the podcast, and we want you guys' personalities to shine through. Kevin, what's the one question we have to ask them?
Protein question.
Yep.
How much? We need to know how much protein everybody eats a day. This started in the first episode, and we've stuck with it.
Okay.
Like a
Plus,
You guys-
plus, for the
you
record,
guys-
you guys are big dudes. Like
I was
for
gonna
everyone
say-
who can't see you,
Yeah, this. You guys will probably give us the best answer that we've had so far. Nate, how much protein do you eat per day?
I mean, I don't know the exact amount, but I know our nutritionist tries to get us to eat at least 6 meals a day. So every meal within that has protein. So like at night, I'll eat like a chicken breast and then like a steak for dinner. Then like it's usually like the same things throughout all the meals. So it's a high amount of protein. Plus like protein-
minimum 6 times a day.
Yeah, did like protein shakes for like lifts and like all that stuff. So it's a lot.
You get enough.
Yeah.
Enough. More than enough.
I would just say a lot. I don't really know. I mean, I know it's a lot to the point that we have protein water that we drink. Like they'll give us like these bottles after practice of protein water, and that's before and after our protein breakfast and lunch and dinner. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm no protein measurement table, but I'll just have to give you a lot.
Sure.
I think that's about right.
Yeah.
Quick side
Sounds about
question,
right.
off topic, kind of, because you said they gave you the protein water. How is it South End Zone? Is it the coolest thing in the world
Oh
on
man,
the inside?
it's yeah, man, it's so like high tech, you know what I mean? Like so like wow, like it's just crazy like seeing like it was like I remember me and my friends, a couple of guys that were in my recruiting class, we were like, dang, we committed here when they didn't have this when we were at the Matsy, and like it was just like compared to Matsy, like if somebody tried to tell us to go to the Matsy now, we'd feel disrespected it. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. And like yeah, man, I feel like it's a super big recruiting tool also. You know what I mean? You take somebody in there, they're gonna love it. You know, it's 4 floors of the most high tech, up to date stuff that there is. You know what I mean? So yeah,
And
it's
he
pretty-
took me in there and I was
You were like, wait a minute.
yeah, like we don't got this.
yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Angie, how much protein do you eat per
Yeah,
day?
I eat like a chicken breast a day. I think that's
Some
a
there's some
yeah, that's
protein.
about
Yeah,
my
it's like
lunch,
25,
so-
solid
Yeah.
25 grams.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's good, right?
Yeah. For sure. When I'm trying to get swole, I got like 2 scoops of protein powder a day.
That's
It's
at the-
like,
at
which
the
we all
building,
are, aren't
have
we?
yeah, I
protein
mean,
powder.
sometimes I'm
Yeah.
kind of off my game right now, eating a lot more cereal than protein, but
Cereal's
So
very
right now it's
important,
probably
too.
like 10 grams.
For sure.
Not
for sure.
much, but yeah.
No, it's fun.
The last one, or I don't know if it's the last one, but the other one that we always ask is the best fast food restaurant in Columbia, the one that you guys go
Fast
to.
food?
Yeah.
Definitely Waffle House.
not fast.
What?
Oh, no,
I think
can we
I might
debate
count
this?
That's fast
that,
food, is it not?
I mean, it's a chain.
I
I mean, it's you sit down. You sit
Is there
down.
a drive-through?
Okay. Fast food? Chipotle.
Super solid.
Solid answer.
I'm gonna have to go with Zaxby's. I like Zaxby's.
Oh, that's solid.
Yeah, that's good.
What's your go-to meal at Zaxby's? There's probably something special about it, right?
boneless wings and things with sweet and spicy sauce, extra piece of toast,
For sure.
and the second order of fries.
Yeah.
Love
You've never ordered that before, we can tell.
And a lemonade. And a lemonade.
lemonade.
Gotta have lemonade.
My last question to get us all out of here is Kevin and I are contemplating doing why is this all about food?
It is, yeah.
We're contemplating doing a 10,000 calorie challenge in October after Kevin rides 100 miles in one go on his bike. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be
Uh,
awesome
It's going to be awesome.
afterwards.
We're going to do like 5 different Columbia restaurants to try to get the 10,000 calories. If you had to go about eating 10,000 calories in a day, what would your go-to be? Where are you starting?
I'm starting Waffle House. The waffles are just,
Is it the waffles specifically?
it's the waffles specifically.
Okay, there you go.
And it's definitely the vibe too. You can go there any hour and just get some Waffle House and some waffles, drown it in syrup. But Waffle House
Do you think you could do 10,000? No question, easy.
in a day?
Yeah, in a day. I mean,
No,
you probably
I
can.
could not.
You don't think you could? You look like you could.
That makes me nervous. I've never tried.
I don't think I could.
10,000 of just Waffle House, or
No, we
No.
wouldn't do that to anybody.
I'd also go to Five Guys as well.
Yeah.
You could do some damage at Five Guys.
Yes.
Not a whole lot of people getting thin going
Or
to
Mad
Five
Cow.
Guys.
Mad Cow. That's some, just go lick the grease off the.
Yeah. Mad Cow is definitely high calories.
For me, I would say I start at Andy's. I find that's a good one. Start at Andy's. Throw on some
7
quick-
a.m.
He's going to just ruin your stomach for the rest of the
Throw on
day.
some quick stuff. I'd probably go to IHOP and get some pancakes, French toast, the whole dozen. Some pancheros in there. I don't know if that's a lot of calories, though. I'm not sure.
You have to get a burrito.
I mean, it just depends on how much guacamole you put on the burger.
Yeah, I got you.
Have
And
a
then
double wrap it.
probably end off the night with some good old fashioned Little Caesars, I'd say. You know, just
Oh,
a
nice.
couple pieces.
Nice.
And that's how I
Good
attack
old
it.
fashioned.
Hot box
I
or
was gonna say hot
insomnia?
box cookies.
yeah.
We found a cookie for like 1,000
yeah.
calories.
Oh,
Just
no
one
way.
Cookie. You might just
That's
top
1,000
it off of
calories?
That one that we saw.
I'm more of
Oh,
a
I can eat 10. Yeah, I can eat 10 calories easily.
I'm more of an insomnia guy.
Yeah, insomnia's, that's where we went.
Oh, maybe that was it then.
Yeah, they have like this peanut butter chocolate cookie, deluxe cookie. It's so good.
We might have to check that out.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
1,000.
We'll look that up
That'll
on,
be on our.
my
Or
Fitness
also if you go to Aries Pizza and you get their gooey butter cake,
Gooey butter
they have a
cake.
gooey butter
Pal.
cake,
Okay.
and it comes with a scoop of ice cream put on top and the raspberry sauce put on top of that. Best dessert in Colombia, in my opinion.
There you heard it, Kevin. We might have to throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
I like this.
Special shout out.
This is fantastic.
All right, perfect. Let's wrap it up. Let's get these guys home. Kevin, you do the outro. You know what to do.
Yes, we really do, guys. Appreciate your willingness to be so transparent this evening and spending 2 hours with us in the kindergarten classroom at the Crossing to do this. First, where can we learn more about CORE?
Yeah, so our website is www.corcolumbia.org. It's corcolumbia.org. It's probably the best place. Social media is COR Columbia, Facebook and Instagram. Just the important thing is COR Columbia.
COR Columbia.
Yep.
Capital,
No E.
lowercase.
Capital lowercase.
No
letter.
E.
We'll never
No
find you.
E.
Easily
No.
mistaken.
Easily mistaken. That's true.
And then where can our listeners find you guys? If you are allowed to share, Nate, where can we find you?
You can find me at all platforms at GOGPeat, P-E-A-T.
You can find me on the gram at God Fearing Man. God dot period. Oh, God. God period fearing period man. No period. You can catch me at Faroe turning up with the boys. You catch me on SEC Network Saturdays. Yeah.
What numbers are you guys wearing this year?
I'll be wearing no number because I'll be at home.
Well, okay. But if it works out,
I wear number 8.
I wear number 3.
there you go. Cool. Number 8,
Fantastic.
number 3. Catch them on Saturdays. If it works out,
Yeah,
For
it
sure.
will work out.
Nate,
Nate, we hope it does work
we
out.
definitely hope it works out.
Yeah,
I hope so,
Martez, we
too.
hope that you upset the world next Saturday. Excited about that.
Seriously, bring home the W for us all.
That would be
I'm going to hold
so
it down, man.
beautiful.
We're going to hold it
Yeah,
down.
We're excited. We are very excited. And Travis and Angie, you guys could not have two better ambassadors for your program. This has been a phenomenal interview.
Agreed.
Appreciate you guys spending the evening with us. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you
For sure.
having
Thank
us.
you for
Thank
having
you
us.
guys. We appreciate it.
A lot of fun.
Final vibe.
Dude, I know I alluded to it while we were on the podcast, but I just have such a phenomenal amount of respect for those guys, man.
It is wild what they have accomplished and the drive that they have to help other people accomplish things. And they're like, you talk to them, and people listening are probably going to forget multiple times throughout the episode. These are college students, sophomores in college.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing, super inspiring. The maturity in those guys is unparalleled, and obviously the wisdom from Angie and Travis it's awesome. And it's cool that like when you combine those two things, you can have such a powerful system of structure that leads people to make better choices in life and become the people they want to be. So I'm pumped. Phenomenal episode 16. I think it's going to leave a lot of people thinking about, man, are they really doing everything that they want to be doing? You know?
Yeah. I loved it. start to finish. We hope you all did as well.
Kevin, I think we should send these people out into their Tuesday with an outro.
Let's do
that
it.
Perhaps only you can provide.
Only
Would you be
I
willing to
can
do that for everyone?
I have the secret words. I'm willing to do it. Here we go.
Give me the words.
Don't forget, everybody, if you are looking to change your life and focus more on your own legacy, a Final Vibe membership provides you with immediate access to a community of people doing just that, as well as other exclusive content. Today's episode was produced by co-host Andrew White, and let's give him a special shout out because, again, folks, 6 microphone inputs. That's pretty darn impressive. I don't know
stop it.
I don't know how you're going to edit it. I'm glad it's not my job. We can't wait to listen to it. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to future episodes and tell one other person about us. We appreciate all of the support that we've received so far, and we hope to see you guys online. Final Vibe is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Final Vibe. And you can see our website, apparel, blog, and so much more at finalvibe.com. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you all back here next Tuesday for another episode. Thank you so much for listening.